I'm Damon Stapleton. I'm Chief Creative Officer at the Monkeys Aotearoa. I moved around a lot, lived in a lot of different countries. I was a photographer for a while. I did a shoot for an agency, and that's sort of how I got a job in an agency. So I worked my way up there, and I became Executive Creative Director of an agency called TBWA Lascaris when I was about 31, 32. I was there with TBWA for about 12 years. I ran Saatchi's Australia for 3 years, DDB Aotearoa for 7 years, and now Monkeys Aotearoa for 1 year. And today, I'm talking to you. Even as a teenager, I had a deep understanding that I was never going to be an accountant. I think as a creative, you just know a direction. I don't think you always know what you're going to be. And I think creativity is more of a space. And I think now more than ever, creativity is not limited to a job, one type of job description. I think being a creative in advertising is not an easy path. There's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of times where you've worked on things for months and months and they die. I don't think more than anyone else. I just think that if you want to be a creative in this business, you have to have pretty thick skin. You have to, I think Saatchi's used to have a line which was strong opinions lightly held. So you have to be able to put all of yourself into something and then just let it go. If I look at my whole career, it's actually, the highlights for me are the people that I've worked with. There's certain creatives that I've worked with that have gone on to do amazing things. And you realize over time, you were lucky to be there for a year or two with these people. And that for me is the real highlight, is that you get a chance to work with someone. And those two brains in the room mean that you can do something that no one's ever done. That for me is the real highlight. You know, a lot of the other stuff is, it's the wallpaper, not the building. I try to listen to my instinct and go, what's the real question? Because I've got a saying, sometimes people are trying to find a needle by making a haystack. And in our business, there is a lot of people and there can be a lot of bullet points and there can be a lot of data. And you're trying to find one thing. And often that's just about trusting your instinct and your gut and going, what are we really looking for here? Is that really what we're trying to do? And sometimes that might not even be on the page. So, and I'd say that to all creatives is if you've got a gut feel or an instinct, take that very, very seriously. Time. It's funny, somebody said to me the other day that I think 10 years ago, most brands did about 200 pieces of content a year, and now it's something like 2,000. Yeah, it's some insane number. So time is one of those things because I think it does have an impact on the kind of work you can make. But I would say within the industry, more of a celebration, I guess, of good work. I think we can be our own worst enemy. We can be incredibly critical. And if somebody does something really great and gets it out against all odds, it's impressive. And we should applaud that because I think it's also what keeps people going. I think advertising was a very defined space even 10 years ago. I always tell the story that at Cannes in 1992, there were only 2 categories. And today there are over 30 categories. And that's a real interesting way of saying advertising's everything. And if advertising's everything, that raises a number of questions to how do you approach communication? How do you approach marketing? And I think that's something that's becoming a bigger and bigger question because you now have a proliferation of channels. You have a proliferation of technology. I think a lot of marketers are trying to be everywhere, but my question to them is, are you being somewhere? There can be a lot of fear in this business for creatives. And if you're afraid, you won't be creative. So I think if you work in an agency that you're fearful, you should leave, because you'll never do your best work there. I think to be really creative and to really take risks, you have to be vulnerable. And that's a very hard thing in a corporate world. But that's kind of why we have creatives. We have creatives to go to places that other people don't go or wouldn't think of to go. So if you take that away, what you're really doing is you're taking the value of creativity away. When you see a scrap of paper or a little bit of an idea, and then a couple of months later, it's real. And I think that's the real payoff, is when you make something out of nothing, or you're able to create something that wasn't there before. I think that's always amazing. And I think it's also when you see a young creative team do it for the first time, and you can see like the cogs in their head clicking, and they go, oh, okay, I get this. So that's pretty rewarding for me. Creativity in a lot of advertising agencies has probably become a bit smaller over the years. I think you have all these new tools like technology and data, but I think you need creativity to be the glue to put these things together. I don't think data is an insight. I don't think technology is always an idea. I think creativity can pull these things together, and you can start to create new types of work that hasn't been done yet. And I think as a creative, you should always be excited by the new. You should always be excited about what could be. You've got a lot of enthusiasm when you start in a business. Use that and try and stay true to what you think is interesting. Nobody knows anything in advertising, because whatever you've got that's new, well, that's yours.